Once the little girl had waited a long time for her mother. She had waited like a good girl. After the fire died and no one came for her, she searched the house, the great hall, the cellar, the attic and the servants' quarters, inside the walls. She eyed the solid oak door for days before she approached it. It loomed like the shadow of a monster. She closed her eyes as she tried the black iron handle, but it was too hot to hold. She tried the back door, the windows and the chimney, but she could not leave. She cried pearly tears that rolled down her face and melted into nothing. The house on the hill was huge and lonely, and she looked for friends. Sometimes she played in a rusted suit of armour, pretending to be a knight, clunking around the house looking for games. But there were no other knights to joust with, no maidens to rescue. Sometimes she waltzed and wailed around the high-ceilinged ballroom, flying up to the chandelier. She collected things, blackened candlesticks, blackened shards of glass, a blackened china doll face, and hid them in special places, under the floorboards, inside the walls, in her nursery. The nursery was black, and the floor was covered with damp moss, and the windows were shattered and grey. Sometimes the little ghost girl thought she could see flames creeping up the curtains, licking under the door. So she kept the room very cold for safety. Soon the peacocks she could remember roaming around the courtyard began to wander through the house instead. They were pretty, glimmering against the grime like blue and green jewels, and they were warm. She tried to play with them, but they wouldn't listen, and they strutted around the house as if they owned it. She kept their feathers, but their blood was even brighter, and she used it to paint stars and hearts on the walls. One day, men came with hammers and saws. They knocked down the walls and went up into her attic. They found her secret hiding places. They threw away the peacock carcass that hung from the chandelier in the ballroom, and they painted white over the blood in the walls. The little ghost girl hid from the men, but she watched. Her eyes were hungry for their skin, their warmth, the heavy sound of their boots on the floorboards, the heavy sound of their beating hearts. Their voices were rough, and the ghost girl couldn't understand them. Hard, sharp words and laughter, a sound she had forgotten. She wanted to play, so she tipped the cement mixer over. She loosened the piles of pipes and let them clang to the floor and roll across the hall. She twisted the dial on a box that played strange music, making noises like rain and screams. The men shouted and threw their big leathery hands up in the air, and the ghost girl laughed inside her suit of armour. It was almost like being spoken to. But when she tried to speak, they could not hear, or did not listen, over the sound of their hammers and drills. And then they left. The ghost girl was furious. They had taken over her house and made it white, a bright glaring white which hurt her eyes and made her invisible. They had covered the blood and the dirt, and all her secret places had been boarded up or ripped open. And then they left. Alone again in the horrible silent house, her voice bouncing around the gleaming rooms, she started to fade into the white walls. But one day the door opened again. A mother and a father and a tiny bundle, a baby girl, pink and soft, with such a wail, a shock of new skin, unpracticed breathing, the whole world pouring out of a tiny toothless mouth, the new pink face balled into a bellowing fist. The mother and father unpacked boxes, and the ghost girl tried to help, putting things away or moving them to better places when they weren't looking. She buzzed around the house after them, listening to every word. They mostly talked about the baby girl. They called her Alice. Alice slept in the ghost girl's nursery, her soft, clean smell covering the lingering stench of smoke and rot. And every night the ghost girl would sing to her in a shimmery whisper. Tell me the tales that were so dear, long, long ago, long, long ago. Sing me the songs I delighted to hear, long, long ago. It seemed as if the baby girl could hear her old sad songs, and when she danced above the crib, the child followed her with wide eyes. The ghost girl imagined she could feel her fingers and toes again. She thought she remembered what it was like to have a heartbeat. They played together, the baby shrieking and clapping her chubby hands as the ghost whizzed toys around the room, bringing them to life. The ghost girl liked to bring her presents, special things, the cracked doll face, a box of matches, a silver chain stolen from the mother's jewelry box. At night, the little girl would sing to the child, and soon they sang together. Now you will come when my grief is removed. Let me forget so long have you roved. Let me believe you loved as you loved long, long ago. But as the years passed, Alice grew into a pale and watchful girl, still lovely but as brittle as a china doll. Now when the ghost girl sang at night, she would lie in bed and whisper, "You're not real, Mommy says you're not real." "It's me, Alice, why won't you speak to me?" "Can't you hear me anymore, Alice? Have I done something wrong? What have I done, Alice? Alice?" whispered the ghost girl. And when Alice didn't answer, she would throw things around the room, smashing a vase, breaking a table, and Alice would cry and say, "It isn't real." When the little girl finally fell asleep, her head tucked under the covers, hands pressed against her ears, the ghost would rest inside her. As she dissolved into Alice's sleeping body, she would look down at what could almost have been her own flesh. She could feel her heartbeat, the slow rising and falling of breath. The ghost was very cold, so Alice never slept for long before she woke up shivering and sobbing. She would tell her mother she had had bad dreams about fire. The ghost girl heard the mother and father talking. Alice was soon to have a birthday party. "Alice, it's going to be so much fun. I can meet your friends. I can make things fly for them. Will you have a birthday cake, Alice, and candles? You're going to be the same age as me, you know." Alice ran to the door, wrenching it open and slamming it, shrieking, running through the dark, running for the heavy oak front door. The ghost flew after her and screamed as she stumbled and fell. Alice was silent and blood started to crawl through the white cotton of her nightdress. A light went on in the hallway. "Alice, wake up, Alice! Alice, wake up, wake up!" Later, the little ghost girl heard her mother and father talking in whispers. "We can't stay here. We'll sell the house, move far away, somewhere safe, somewhere warm. She'll be fine, our baby girl, our precious child." The ghost girl thought of her own mother. She tried to remember her face. She tried to remember if she had ever been called precious, if she had been kept safe and warm. The mirror in the great hall cracked from side to side. Storming through the house, the ghost slammed every door until she reached the room she shared with her little girl. The ghost watched Alice sleep as she turned the key and took it out of the lock and struck a match. "What are you doing? It's all right. It's supposed to happen like this." The ghost girl brought the flame to the long velvet curtains. "Stay very quiet and very still. It will be over soon." She moved to the bed and lit the canopy. "Just be a good girl and wait." "Let me go. I promise we'll be friends. You can sing at my party. You can blow out the candles. Just wait, Alice. This will be even better. You'll see." Alice was spluttering and her eyes were streaming, and the mother and father were screaming and hammering at the door. Smoke swallowed the room, and the ghost kissed her friend to cool her. "Stay with me, Alice. I won't let anything happen to you."